Hey guys, I'm Rodin. Welcome to Bomispirit, home of WaterBaby Tarot content and the Bomispirit series. I hope you guys are doing really good today. So I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Virgo that's happening on the 17th of September at 4 a.m. Pacific time. Now, before I get into this whole video and talking about the new moon and everything, for those of you who are new, some people like to have a notebook and pen. If you're one of those people, go grab it now. You can always rewind anyway. This video is public. You can see whatever you want. The way that this works is I go over just the energy to kind of expect, the kind of energy that we're going to be working with, and then I go into the aspects, what's coming in specifically with the aspects, and then I get into the degrees because some people really like that. Now, if you don't really know how to read your chart, like if you don't know how to look at your houses versus your planets, because I talk a lot about the houses and why it's important to look at your houses versus your planets. I think in the last, was it the last one I did? Oh shoot! See, now I don't remember. Shoot, now I don't remember. I think it was actually, I know I did one for the full moon in Virgo in 2020, where I went through a whole little class lesson, did a little class on a live, I think, on how to do that and how to look at your houses. But I've explained it over and over in various videos that I've done. If you're not sure how to do that, please Google it. Please Google it, or please check out any astrologers. I don't consider myself an astrologer. I just consider myself a nerd. And I like to read this stuff. I like to know about this stuff. So also know that going into it. And when it comes to astrology, everything that I'm about to tell you, it's not the end all be all. Astrology is just, it's a study. You know what I mean? It's a study of how we classify energy and how it affects us. But how we handle the reaction to the energy is totally up to us. No, nothing is bad. Nothing's only good when it comes to these aspects. It's all about how you handle it, how you handle the energy, how you react to it, all of that. It's your perspective, okay? So if we talk about some things that sound doom and gloom, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It's up to you how you handle it, okay? It's always a choice. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So this new moon is actually a supermoon. Even though it's a new moon and a supermoon, because it's a supermoon and a new moon, you're not actually gonna see its full grandeur, right? Supermoons are incredibly close to the Earth's orbit compared to how it normally is when we're having a new moon, full moon cycle. So when we have a supermoon, the energy is really strong. The pull on the Earth is really strong, again, more so than normal. So the effects of the new moon and the aspects that play during the new moon are going to be stronger, or we're just going to feel it a little bit more than we normally do, okay? Now, new moons in general are about planting those seeds, right? Starting to implement new ideas, setting new intentions, implementing change if we have to. It's a new moon. It's about the new, and making sure that you close cycles along the way as well. Now, this new moon is in Virgo. So let's talk about Virgo energy, because I'm also going to talk about setting intentions, if I could speak properly. All this mercurial energy. I'm going to be talking about how to set intentions and how you should kind of gear it for yourself personally. It should always be personal to you. But when you're setting your intention, you really should be basing it off of the context of the new moon itself and what sign it's in, which is Virgo. So let's talk about Virgo a little bit. Virgo is a sign that leans into habitual experiences, right? Like your daily work routine, your daily life, your daily tasks. It's also about health, specifically natural health, like herbs and oils and natural medicines and things of that nature. It's also discernment. And how do I define? I just realized I felt like when you guys just asked me discernment, can you define discernment? Discernment, it's that's one of the reasons why Virgo is also considered detail oriented. It's also about detail oriented tasks, right? And goals and perspectives and focus and work, all detail oriented. But that's also why Virgo is discernment. How do I define discernment? I really feel like when you guys just asked me, when you're by yourself just asked me, please define discernment. How do I define discernment? It's detail. It's seeing and okay, this is hard. This is a really hard word for me to define. Seeing and understanding something in all of its aspects and details, all of its glory, all of its good and bad, and making appropriate decisions because you're seeing all the little nitty gritty of something. You just understand it. You fully understand it, so you can practice discernment with it. I don't feel like I'm defining it right. You can also say discrimination, discernment, discrimination kind of go hand in hand as far as how you're looking at something when you are practicing discrimination, and not in like the negative context. Discrimination is not negative inherently. It's just how often we hear the word in a certain negative context. Again, just labels. That's the other thing. Words are so primitive. They're so primitive. I was like, we're moving into this new way of doing things, this new paradigm, new earth, embracing physical reality, unity consciousness. Words are so hard for me to use lately. Like, no word really encompasses what I'm trying to truly say. So primitive. Anyway, yeah, discernment, discrimination, like that's kind of all in the same boat. I feel like I'm not explaining this right, but I'm going to stop trying to explain it because I just want to keep going. All right. So when it comes to Virgo energy in this new moon, setting your intentions, you should be setting intentions in the oh, I thought that was off. Hold on. Let me shut this off. All these interruptions. Give me a second, guys. Because I definitely don't need that on anyway. Please set your intentions according to Virgo energy. So like I said, health, natural healing, oils, herbs, wellness, your detailed life, like the details of your everyday life, daily routines, work routines, detail-oriented work, if like you need to be more focused or detail-oriented on something, like set your intention according to that. Oh, Virgo is also the house of losses. It rules the house of losses. It's also a sign about debts. So if you want to have a debt settled, you know, to someone that you owe them something or they owe you something, this is also a good new moon for that, like getting debts all settled up if you can. All right. So think of Virgo when you're setting your intentions. Now with this Virgo new moons are also very notorious for being able to break habits. New moons in general are about breaking cycles or ending cycles to start new ones. Virgo, like I said, it's a sign of habitual energy or habitual living, habitual habits, right? So new moon Virgo is great for that, but also since it's a new moon Virgo super moon, the energy is a little stronger. Definitely try to break some habits. We also are still in this full moon Pisces energy for the next 2 weeks until we have full moon in Aries, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But full moon Pisces was also about wrap-ups because it's 12th house energy. 12th house helps us to resolve what we've experienced and carried through the 1st to the 11th house aspects of our lives and events. So that's why we've had a lot of reflective energy and resolving a lot of what we've experienced for all of 2020, pretty much, since the new moon in Pisces back in February, when all this really hit hard for the world on the global scale. Anyway. There's also going to be other aspects coming up with this new moon that will also help you break habits. We're going to have Saturn aspecting the new moon in a really cool way, very positive way. Don't get scared when I say Saturn. I feel like some guys are like associated Saturn with like making things really freaking hard. It's actually going to help. This Saturn aspect is going to help, and I'm going to talk about that later. We also have Libra helping out. There's going to be a lot of big picture thinking. We're going to be able to problem solve a lot easier with this new moon in Virgo. Your mind might feel a little overactive, but you're just going to have a lot of ideas and a lot of creative ideas. And you're going to think about things like in a way you haven't before. So this is really an awesome new moon to finish wrapping up whatever you haven't wrapped up from the full moon Pisces energy, but also to do clearing out of 2020 if you haven't done it with full moon Pisces energy, and to really fully implement the new stuff you want, the changes you want to make because of certain aspects we have. But also Virgo is mercurial magician energy. It's Mercury to me is so like mental, cerebral, and Virgo is earthy, it's the physical. Virgo is great energy to not only come up with ideas and strategize, but actually put them into your physical reality and make shit happen. Magician, manifestation energy. So this is gonna be a really good new moon. I wouldn't even worry about it. It's gonna be really positive. Hold on, I already need some water. At least I'm looking at it as a positive thing. What else? So we do have a couple other aspects that I'm not talking about all these aspects, so don't worry, that are creating delays, some conflict, some pressure, some restriction, but everything I already said actually relate to stronger aspects, like stronger energy. So all of like the restriction you've been feeling, whatever you've been struggling with personally, even through 2020, what you've personally been struggling with, especially as it relates to the pandemic and the old paradigm falling apart and all of that, whatever's been highlighted for you as a struggle, this is going to be a really good time to break through all of that, okay? But yes, is the restriction still going to be there? Yeah. Is pressure and stress and conflict and delay still going to be there? Yes. Are people still going to challenge you? Yeah, that's still going to be there. But the rest of the energy is basically saying you can totally be successful out of this. Okay? All right. So that being said, let's go ahead. Oh, actually, sorry, I just realized. So before we get into the aspects, so setting your intention with new moon in Virgo, Virgo's at 25 degrees. Now, I'm probably going to say this a couple more times in the video. When I get into degrees, is the exact degree important for the sign that you're looking at? It is. I also like to give ranges because this is just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's like part of a school of astrology standard thought or thought form or anything. This is just the way I like to look at astrology. So also please know that I'm not a trained astrologer. I am not certified. I just learned all of this on my own for the most part. Well, no, I have. I've never taken an astrology course or class or anything like that. Anyway, I like to look at ranges because to me, all of this is about how we classify and label and study energy, and energy is fluid, it's not linear. And even just observing astrology from my own point of view, like relation to what's happened in my life, and I look at the astrology that's going on in my life, I've realized that it's not, you can't just look at one sign and be very definitive of what's going to happen to you based off of like one house or one certain degree placement. There's other factors that are involved and everything is connected, right? So that's why I like to give degree ranges when you're looking at your houses. But as far as setting your intention, yes, Virgo's at 25 degrees for the new moon. So look to where Virgo 25 degrees sits in your house. If you don't know how to do that, I'll give you an example. So for example, when you look at my chart and you see where my rising is, I'm Cancer rising, and it'll give you the sign and a degree placement for each house. My 4th house starts at Virgo 20 degrees. My 5th house starts at Libra, I can't remember now. Libra and some change, that doesn't matter. But because my 4th house starts at Virgo 20 degrees, I know Virgo 25 degrees falls in my 4th house because my 5th house starts at Libra. It's a range. So that's how you look at your houses, okay? So set your intention according to the house. The new moon is going to be affecting you and personally, and set it according to Virgo energy in the context of the house it's sitting in. So for example, if it's sitting in a house of your house of losses, like 6th house. Oh, excuse me. Oh, hold on. Oh, excuse me. So if this is sitting in your 6th house, which is naturally ruled by Virgo, Virgo is 6th house energy, you could do a number of intentions. You could do anything about debts, health, spiritual scribe, like writing about spiritual things, blogging about spiritual things, or reading spiritual books. That's also 6th house energy. I feel like I'm missing a big one. Oh yeah, detailed work. I don't know, that one always eludes me. I always like have to come back to that. Like detailed work routines, getting your own daily stuff in order, that sort of thing, okay? Very common intentions people set for new moon Virgo is focused on health. So, focused on health, settling debts, and implementing healthy routines and healthy change, especially to aid health. Like physical health, okay? Just to give you a last little taste. Okay, let's get into the first section. God, my throat is like closing. Give me a minute. So I also have to say this because I've seen a lot of comments recently. So those of you who've been with me since the beginning of my channel back in fall 2018, you guys already know the situation with my throat. You already know. This is for the newbies. This is for the new people. I am perfectly healthy, guys. I really appreciate, and that's the thing, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' concern. I appreciate that you guys want to give me advice and help me. I really do appreciate it. I am perfectly healthy, I promise you. Okay. All right, let's get into it. So the first section I want to talk about is like the bright ideas, the creative thinking, expansive thinking that's coming in, your mind running amok with you in a good way, but kind of not a good way, but we'll get into that. And also the discipline that is coming in, or the ability to be very disciplined in implementing changes really being gung-ho about starting the new, and also being very disciplined and being adaptable and resilient when you're facing changes. I talked about a lot of that, what I just said. I talked a lot about that with Mars retrograde Aries energy shift, and that is playing a big role in this, and I will do a whole little tidbit on that. So let's get into this. So the first aspect, Jupiter is now direct in Capricorn at 17 degrees, and it's square Mercury in Libra at 17 degrees. This is the strongest aspect of this new moon. Not only is it exact, and when I say exact, for those who are new, exact means that two planets are sitting at the same degree point. They're both at 17 degrees. There are a lot of aspects that we can feel where they're like off by a degree or two, like one's at 17, one's at 19. And even when they're exact, more often than not, like the minutes, because that's how we read it, right? It's degrees, and minutes are like the sum change, right? To get to the next degree. For those who are really new, because I can feel a lot of new people watching me just as I'm recording this. Excuse me. This aspect is only off by 1 minute. Super strong, okay, very, very strong. So Jupiter is expansion. It's also an energy of wisdom. Think about like Sagittarius ninth house energy, right? So Jupiter is expanding Mercury Libra energy, which is very creative thinking, not just for yourself, but others. It's a problem solving energy because Libra is also the energy of justice. It's not just about, love and feeling good and all that, because because Libra is Venusian, right? That's that Venus energy working with Mercury. So this is actually going to help you come up with really cool ideas. All of a sudden, you're going to everything's just going to make more sense to you, especially if you've been struggling with anything, because this is aspecting with Jupiter and Capricorn, which has been part of Saturn, Pluto, dismantling of the old and causing struggle in certain aspects of your life. So all of a sudden, not only are things going to make sense to you, but what you've been struggling with this whole year is suddenly going to seem really easy to solve. It's just going to flow. So that's going to be really nice. The only thing I worry about this aspect is like a little bit of like that shadowy energy. So if you fall, am I buffering? No, I don't think so. So if you kind of lean into the shadowy aspect of this aspect, the shadowy side of this aspect, you could go into way overthinking, like analysis paralysis and anxiety, like, oh my God, my brain is so full. You might even get like mental fog. And again, that's not going to happen to everybody. It's just a possibility because it's just the energy that's here. You know what I mean? When it comes to energy, we can use it appropriately or we can let it get the best of us. So if you let this energy get the best of you or you can't keep up with it, you might feel very overloaded and overwhelmed with your own mind, with your own mental space. Some of you might have this energy of like, there's so much in my head, but I can't get it out. Or there's so much I want to say, but I can't say it all because my brain's moving too fast. Some of you might experience that. But at the end of the day, this is helping you to problem solve your own stuff you've been dealing with this whole year, and also what you want to do moving forward in the new, because this is a lot of clearing energy we're in. Because for the rest of the year, it's going to be a lot of expansion, and I'll talk about that later. But this full moon Pisces, with the new moon Virgo, and even the full moon Aries, that whole period, that whole like month that we're still in, obviously we're like in the middle of it, is all about clearing. Let's get clear before we expand, so we can actually expand, and before we dive into 2021. Okay? All right, what else we got here? So Saturn. Let's talk about Saturn. So Saturn is retrograde Capricorn at 25 degrees. This is trine the new moon, Virgo 25 degrees. This is also exact. This is also very strong. The other one's stronger just because they're off by 1 minute. But this is also a really strong aspect. And it's actually really positive because trines is that triangle manifestation, stable, positive amplifier sort of energy. And it's with Virgo and Capricorn. So, excuse me. So this aspect is going to help us to be very disciplined, be very focused and practical in our approach. It's going to make us feel like we've got a little bit of an energy boost and a boost in our ability to focus and actually get something done, especially when it comes to setting our intention, because it's trine the new moon. So whatever your intention is for the new moon, you're going to have a little bit of a boost by Capricorn Saturn specifically, but Saturn and Capricorn, like trying to get you to do it and making sure that you get it done. You know what I mean? So it's really positive. Just work with this energy. Not to mention you have all these like creative ideas and flow coming in from Jupiter and Mercury. Problem solving. Oh, here's what I've been struggling with. Oh, I'm getting it now. Whoa, wait a minute. Is this a solution? Oh, let me just go and do this and get this done. yeah, it's gonna be really cool. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, okay, this is kind of nice. So we also have, oh, sorry, this is actually one little note I want to mention. So for some of us, like I said, these are going to be things that we have been struggling with this year. Because this Capricorn energy is so intertwined with the new moon in Virgo, which is intertwined with the old paradigm, for some of you, these might be challenges that you've experienced way beyond this year. Making changes that you thought were impossible to make because they might have been attached to the old paradigm or an old way of thinking. So another cool thing about this massive clearing we're having for, this month period from full moon Pisces to full moon Aries is that people who are like newly awake or ready to embrace unity consciousness or ready to embrace 5D physical reality, this is the energy to do it. Like, this is the energy to break away our old habits from the old paradigm. Let's clear it out. Can we? Let's clear it out. Let's clear it out. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, so the last aspect we have here with this kind of energy is Jupiter Capricorn at 17 degrees sextile Neptune and Pisces at 19 degrees. So not nearly as strong as the other two, but still worth talking about. Sextiles offer opportunities. And this is actually really nice because it's like Piscean, Neptunian, creative, daydreamy, fantastical, higher consciousness sort of energy working with Jupiter, which is now direct. So this energy kind of leans towards expanding more of those creative ideas that also Mercury and Libra, whoa, don't know what that was. Mercury and Libra, not Libras, is helping us with. Hold on. Oh, my throat is so tight. Oh, excuse me. That Mercury and Libra is helping us with. Okay, so get creative, have fun with it. You might even get a lot of your ideas just through intuitive hits or feeling like you're getting a little bit of a divine assist because Neptune is at play with Jupiter, as Jupiter is also at play with Mercury, with the whole problem-solving aspect. This aspect of Jupiter sextile Neptune, it also leans into like making dreams come true. Because Jupiter is also the sign of luck and fortune and blessings, and Neptune is that daydreamy, fantastical, like really unconditional loving kind of energy. And it wants to play, it wants to be creative, and it just wants to love. And it is about dreams and fantasy. Excuse me. Sorry, I ate dinner before this. So yeah, use all these aspects to help you problem solve, really break away from old paradigm habits or old paradigm thinking and or living. There might be a lot of people around you that might change their like where they're living or even how they're living as a result of this energy, if they're in tune with it and if they're working with it versus like resisting it. Because the energy that I'm gonna talk about next is gonna cause a little bit of challenge there, but it's all about where you put your focus and what energy you're working from and how disciplined you're gonna be with yourself, really, at the end of the day, okay? So I'm gonna talk about the degrees. Keep in mind that Jupiter sextile Neptune energy is going to be exact, really strong, on October 16th. October is going to be a month of expansion and activation. I'm so excited for it. When looking at the aspects, I could just tell it was going to be that. And then I was talking about it for the monthlies that I do on Patreon. And that's basically the download I got. Like, yeah, it's just going to be expansion city because we're clearing so much out right now. Okay. All right. So now where to look for where you can work with these energies in your houses. So like I said, set your intention for new moon Virgo energy, Virgo 25 degrees. Now, that new moon energy is intertwined with these aspects, okay? So just keep that in mind, that whatever your intention is might be affected by your other houses and how I'm about to talk about this. So I'll give you the exact degree placements of where to look for where everything I just described to you, all like the problem solving, breaking habits, implementing the change and being very successful at it, making dreams come true. Also, all of a sudden you're filled with love and divine understanding because Jupiter is also sextile Neptune. This is where you're gonna feel that in certain aspects of your life. And then I'm gonna talk about the ranges because I think ranges are really important to discuss. Capricorn 25 degrees. Again, you're checking your houses for where these placements fall, for where you're gonna feel this personally. Virgo 25 degrees and Pisces 19 degrees. Now, ranges. I would prioritize looking at Capricorn because Capricorn's literally involved in all of these aspects, like every single one I talked about. And I would actually look at 20 to 29 degrees. Why such a big range? Because there's other aspects that I'm going to talk about that overlap with the aspects that I just talked about. That's why. It'll make sense too as I go into talking about it. But I would look at Capricorn 20 to 29 degrees, even though the critical point is 25 degrees with talking about these aspects in this energy. Now, Virgo and Pisces, 20 to 25 degrees. And I say that because Pisces is at 19, Virgo's at 25 when we're looking at the aspects on the day of the new moon. But again, they're both mutable energy. Energy is fluid, not linear. So I look at Virgo and Pisces, 20 to 25 degrees. Now, because it's also two mutable energy signs, it wouldn't hurt to look at Gemini and Sag. It wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't prioritize it. I would prioritize Capricorn, 20 to 29, and then Virgo and Pisces, 20 to 25. I'd prioritize it that way. But the exact degree points, just to reiterate, Capricorn 25, Virgo 25, and Pisces 19. Okay? All right, let's get into the next section. Conflict of personal power and delays. So there's two aspects that I'm going to talk about in relation to this. The first one is Mars retrograding in Aries at 27 degrees, which is square Saturn at 25 degrees Capricorn, which is also retrograding. So Mars, and again, I talked about this in the energy shift reading. If you guys haven't seen that, or if you're new, please by all means watch it. If you're curious, you don't have to. I just feel like there's a lot more information in that video than I'm actually going to divulge here about Mars. But anyway, Mars being in Aries is retrograding until November. And then I believe I think it moves into Taurus in January. I could be mistaken about that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't go into Taurus until January 2021. And it's going to be square the Capricorn planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto for the rest of the year at different points in time, okay? Saturn and Jupiter go into Aquarius mid-December, I believe the 17th and 19th. I could be mistaken about that. Jupiter is already direct, Saturn will be direct at the end of the month, and I'll talk about that later. But this square energy is going to be prevalent for the rest of 2021, whether it's going to be with Jupiter or Pluto or Saturn, it's going to be continuous, okay? Excuse me. This energy creates a struggle of wanting personal power, more personal freedom, and almost an energy like alpha. But there's constantly this challenge or conflict with authoritative energy and or government. And of course, this relates to the paradigm shifting. We'll just say shifting, it's dismantling, but you know what I'm saying here. So this energy of like being restricted by Saturn in your own personal power and freedom. Now, people who aren't dealing with this energy very well might start to lash out, become very frustrated, very angry. You might even be one of those people, and that's okay. Ebb and flow. We all go through it, right? As long as you're recognizing it. But don't let other people's behavior discourage you, because that's something that Mars retrograde Aries energy is actually teaching us, okay? It's teaching us to be adaptable and resilient no matter the challenges we face. We don't grow with things being easy, and Mars retrograde Aries energy makes things hard to accomplish, makes it hard to get things done. But with all the other aspects I talked about, which are stronger energetically, basically says we can get it done, right? So don't let other people discourage you or any of that. Mars retrograde Aries energy, especially square Saturn, also causes delays. Causes random roadblocks sometimes to come up, either as a result of government or authoritative figures or even just external factors. All of a sudden, you're doing something, it's like, wait, why is this not working now? Why did this stop working on me? Just adapt. Just adapt. You don't gotta sit there and be upset about it. Be upset. It's a human experience. I'm not telling you what to feel, but if you just sit there and wallow and then tell yourself you'll never accomplish it, then you're not learning the lesson of Mars square Saturn, which is just teaching you resilience, which we could all use, right? So just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I've already talked about that. All right, now let's get into the next one. So this one's more short term. The other one, like I said, Mars, that's going to be into effect for the rest of the year in different ways with Jupiter and Pluto. But this one is much more short term, so also kind of know that as I talk about it, that you might only be experiencing this for a week or two. You know what I mean? And by October, you're definitely not going to be experiencing this. Well, actually, hold on. Did I just, hold on, let me think about that. No, I don't think you'll be experiencing this. I just wanted to think about the astrology as things shift in October. Yeah, no, I don't think this is going to be occurring in October. Just the rest of September. Oh, excuse me. Nasally. Okay. So we have Venus in Leo at 12 degrees, squares, whoa, Uranus. Saturn, Taurus, what? Venus in Leo at 12 degrees, square Uranus. Why is it all so hard for me to say all of a sudden? In Taurus at 10 degrees. Uranus is retrograding. Now, it kind of links to the energy that I also talked about with Mars square Saturn, because this is the energy of like independence and being committed. There's also a lot of like fixed on fixed kind of like battle energy of I want to lead, I want to be alpha, but you're telling me I need to submit, right? It's like, yeah, so that's going to cause some tension, you know, but again, this is going to be short term. There's also like a thing about rules. As I was like writing these notes, sometimes when I write notes on the astrology, I get downloads. They were telling me rules. Like rules is going to be very triggering to people with this aspect. And of course, I'll go into where it's affecting you personally. That's dependent on your houses. I told you how to look at it. Go look at it when you have time. And if you don't understand it by my own explanation, please Google it. Information's out there. That's how I learned. I just read. Okay. All right. Yeah, rules. There's gonna be this like, I want to be creative. I want to have fun. I want to be out. I want to be unique and eccentric. But there's going to all of a sudden be like, wait, there's rules to this though. Like there are rules you're supposed to be following. You can't break the rules. You can't be that special one. There's like, it's like that kind of energy is going to be coming up for some people. It's going to be very, very triggering. Now, of course, if any of this is falling in your houses of relationship, that will affect your relationships. And like I said, I'll talk about how to look at that, or just degree placements anyway. But if it's falling in like your 4th house, your 7th house, your 10th house, your 5th house, like especially like dating, there's all of a sudden going to be conflicts with your partner that could be around attention or wanting more space. Also, why am I getting, that's so weird. I heard codependence, but that's not it, but maybe that's going to apply for some of you. And also money. And the reason that is because Venus, Uranus, and Taurus are all associated with money or currency or the economy. So just note that money, currency, and economy might also play a role in this energy for you for the rest of September. Okay. Yep, that's it. Okay, so let's talk about degrees. So again, this is a short-term aspect, so you don't have to like, you know, at least with Leo, Venus, Uranus, Taurus, that's short-term, and I'll just reiterate that later. But again, so I wouldn't prioritize that. Just be aware that might be a thing for you for the rest of September. But I would prioritize Mars square Saturn, which is Aries at 27 degrees and Capricorn at 25 degrees. See that 25 keeps coming up, right? Over and over and over. So as far as the ranges for that, I would look at Aries 25 to 29 and Capricorn 20 to 29. And again, Capricorn's 20 to 29 because of the other aspects that I talked about. And there is overlap there because Mars is square Saturn, but Saturn is also trine the new moon, which is bringing in that awesome discipline energy, right? And then you have Jupiter in Capricorn creating those other two aspects that are really positive and really helping us. So that's why Capricorn 20 to 29 degrees is where you're going to see the overlap of struggle and being triumphant over that struggle. Okay. Now for the short-term aspect that I just discussed, Leo and Taurus, Leo's at 12 degrees, Taurus is at 10 degrees. But as far as ranges, I would look at Leo and Taurus 10 to 15 degrees. Again, look at your houses. And of course, because they're both fixed, wouldn't hurt to look at Aqua and Scorpio in your houses. I wouldn't prioritize it, especially because it's a short-term aspect. I'd really focus on Aries and Capricorn, because that's also going to affect you for the rest of 2020. Okay. All right. Dates. This one's going to be this little section is going to be kind of brief, but I feel like there are a couple things that are kind of important to note. Okay. So on the 23rd of September, Mercury enters the pre-shadow retrograde period. I'm just noting it. Don't be afraid of it. Retrogrades are just to help us grow. I'm just giving you the information. I'm just letting you know that retrograde Mercury energy is coming up, but the pre-shadow starts on the 23rd of September. And by that time, it will still be in Libra, but it doesn't go retrograde until the 13th of October when it's in Scorpio. All right. Now on the 27th of September, Mercury enters Scorpio. That energy of Mercury going to Scorpio, I think, is what's going to start a little bit of the activation process. And especially with aspects that are following it and supporting it moving forward into October. But yeah, Mercury going into Scorpio, I actually like that. Not that I'm biased Scorpio or anything. But that's a really nice energy of having more insight and having a way deeper understanding of things. Of course, it could also lean into like very shadowy energy, which we will see in Mercury retrograde period when when Mercury goes retrograde. Is like you see the shadowy scorpionic aspects of like paranoia and a little bit of like overthinking. Scorpios can be really, really intense overthinkers because Scorpios are very intuitive, but they're also Mars ruled. So it's kind of like that fiery, aggressive, psychic sort of energy, you know what I mean? But with Mercury going into Scorpio, it's just going to be even more deeper understanding of ourselves and what's going on around us. That's always going to be helpful. That's always going to be really nice. However, there might be some sexual stuff that comes up with this because Scorpio is the it's the sign that rules the house of sex. We do still have Mars retrograding in Aries. And can Mars retrograde Aries lean towards sexual frustration? It can. It's not the biggest takeaway of that retrograde energy, but with Mercury entering Scorpio, its sister sign, that might be a little amplified. So just be mindful of that. A little sexual frustration might come in here. And then on the 29th, we have Saturn going direct. Finally. And with Saturn going direct, we're going to feel a little bit of like relieved pressure. So when Saturn is retrograde, first of all, Saturn is what I call the master maker. It helps us to grow. It helps us to learn a lot about ourselves and like maybe even like some things that we haven't done right, which is why it's like it always feels like a struggle to work with Saturn. But it always helps us in the long run, right? So this retrograde period we've been in, we've had, more pressure, more focus, and more restriction on us in order to see how we could evolve and grow in a certain aspect of our life. Most likely wherever Capricorn 20 to 29 degrees falls for you. That might even overlap in a couple houses, which is fine. You probably felt it in both houses in some way, especially because it relates to the paradigm falling. But anyway, so we've had this like pressure on us and focus with something that we've been struggling with probably since what? When did it go retrograde? Honestly, since spring. I'm going to say spring because there's always a pre-shadow energy with that. Now that it's going direct, we have now had a chance to learn those lessons. We now had a chance to grow. And if we haven't learned it just then, we're going to have energy around Saturn going direct that's going to help us reflect. With Mercury going into Scorpio and also the full moon on the 1st of October in Aries to follow after that, because the full moon is going to be conjunct Mars retrograde Aries energy. So it's going to highlight that struggle. Mars square Saturn. You see what I'm going? So we're going to have a lot of extra support in reflecting on how things have been hard for us and if we handled it right, if we didn't handle it right, and just really clearing that energy out, right? It's like just learn your lessons, grow from them, reflect on them, and release it and let it go. This last week of September is going to be like a little bit more of that clearing that I was talking about as we go into full moon Aries on October 1st. It's going to clear this last bit of stuff out that we've struggled with 2020 specifically. And for some of us, even longer because it relates to the old paradigm energy that we're breaking away from. And then as we enter October, expansion and activation. Get ready. It's going to be cool. All right. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys found this video useful and I hope that you guys got a lot out of it and I hope you guys really enjoy your new moon in Virgo experience. Just for those of you who know, who want to know, see my words, we're just so primitive. Those of you who want to know, or if I have any patrons who are watching, the new moon Virgo spreads, I will be doing them tomorrow. What's today? Today's 14th. Tomorrow, I'll be doing them tomorrow, the 15th of September at 7 p.m. Pacific time, at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow on the 15th of September, I will also be doing a little hangout session on Patreon where we talk about rituals and, what rituals we're doing or how to go about doing ritual for new moon and full moon. And it's really just a hangout, casual sort of thing. But if you're interested in the spreads, I'm doing them 7 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. Okay? I believe that's it. yep, those are all the announcements I have. I love you guys, and I hope to see you soon. And yeah, have a good night. Namaste.